right, everybody's in agreement. Let's go take Sehkie
All
to
right.
the nearest bridge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Anime Club. In this segment, we will be discussing the production value of My Next Life as a Villainess, including the anime, animation, music, that kind of thing. So, I love the opening. I think it's a peppy song. It changes, and I like how it changes throughout. Like, it doesn't stay the same beat and kind of like sound all the way through. And I've actually seen an incredibly good English cover, like a fan cover, that was also really good. So I think the opening for me is 10
the
out of
opening's
10.
actually brilliant. I love the opening too. Like, my favorite part is when there's a character, and I don't want to spoil it here, but there's a character who, like, in the opening, she's part of the show later, but she starts singing the opening visibly before it transitions to another part of the song.
Yeah. It's so good. It's actually on my anime song playlist.
Yeah, it's a really good anime OP. I can't deny that at all.
It's not my taste of music, but yes, this opening very much does fit with the scenes, and I really do love the scenes that they show in the opening.
Yeah, I definitely like this OP a lot myself as well. It was like my favorite part specifically in the OP is the part where it shows all the little chibi versions of Katarina herself, or it goes dun 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 dun.
The council.
Yeah, the council.
Dun 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 dun.
Classic music for the win.
Yeah, basically. And then after that it just shows her spinning around with the prince, or not the prince, but the Giordo. That's his name.
Giordo.
Yeah, and then it goes straight back into the happy beat song. So I definitely like this one, and I also overall like the rest of the OST. Like the OST, like, I mean, it's not that like standout. It's more so it fits in with the show itself. But some of the things that I liked about the OST is how it would blend in. Like, for example, whenever Giordo's brother Alan would start playing the piano, the song would continue even after he stopped in some scenes. I liked how
I will comment on the OST actually, because I made a comment to Sehkie at one point about it. It works really, like, individual songs do not, there's nothing general, or not songs, pieces don't generally, like, I don't think about them at all. But when you're watching the show, the OST is pretty consistent. Like, there's very few just straight silent moments. There's usually some kind of OST playing in the background, which is not like, normally you have silent moments in OSTs, or in the soundtrack. You don't usually have just straight all the way through OST. But it really helps to where, like, it was the one saving grace of my second watch through, is that I can get the point of a scene and the emotions it was invoking without necessarily having to consistently read the subtitles. Like, I can generally get the point of the scene because of that and the character pitches. Good presentation, I'd say, overall.
Love the animation. Had no issues with it at all.
Oh no, absolutely
not. Obviously, there's no Sakuga, but for what it needed to be, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's literally an Otome isekai. Like, it doesn't need to be fancy.
If I had any, like, my criticisms of the show are not at all with presentation. I think the show's pretty fantastic.
The production value is great. It fits the show. It is exactly what it needed.
That being said, because I feel like it kind of fits here, the way scenes are framed is almost to a fault, like an Otome game. I'm not sure if you guys noticed.
I kind of like that, though.
Yeah, I like
where it's like, she goes into a room, finds a person, they talk, moves on to the next person, and that's kind of how the entire series flows.
But I'm kind of fine with that. I'm actually looking to see if they continue like that in season 2, or switch it up, since season 2 isn't part of the
game anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think it's a nice throwback, I think. Because the whole thing is kind of like played through like cutscenes. Like, it's almost like you're playing through the game or watching someone play through the game and experiencing cutscenes.
That aspect of, like, how the series is framed, though, does play into some of my later criticisms I'll have. That's why I wanted to bring it up here. But we'll get into that in story, I think. See. Art style, I thought the art style was pretty middle. It was an art style. Like, there's nothing spectacular.
It's very similar to
Yeah.
It's very similar to several other Born in Another World as the villain lady in a romance adaptions of light novels that I've seen into manga. Like Tanashimi no Reijo has an almost identical art style, even though it's by a totally different author. And I think it's because the authors are light novel authors, they aren't necessarily artists, so they're actually just paying like mangakas and stuff to draw their books, and so you get the same kind of thing coming out.
If I can make a comment on the character designs, I thought the female character designs are far stronger than the male ones. The male ones, like 2 or 3 of them, kind of blend together.
I think that's because the male ones are supposed to look like Otome game characters, and honestly, Otome game characters, it's the same character just with 3 different hair colors.
Maybe, but
and 3 different eye colors.
Maybe that has like a meta reason for working like that, but also this wasn't a direct adaptation of an Otome game. As an anime, I feel like it hurts it a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I found it was relatively easy to tell characters apart.
Yeah.
Mostly because they have different coloring palettes, you know.
Yeah, that's like they use their outfits like basically to their advantage, and honestly, I think that's really where these kinds of shows like really shine. Is like it's not necessarily like the character faces or hairstyles. It's usually either like how their eye color like maybe matches with their outfit or something like that, or just like the general overall style.
Also, shout out to this thing called historical fantasy period costuming, which is basically people are like, I want to do this period piece, and so they take like a bunch of like period outfits, but then they're like, this still needs to be 21st century, so I'm gonna make it strapless or add a zipper, you know. Shout out to that. I actually really kind of enjoy that. Like normally if you're gonna go for historical clothing and you miss on true historical clothing, that bothers me, right? But going straight full on into like fantastical history, 100%. I love the drawn costumes and like the designs of the characters. I think you were about to say that you mixed up the 2 blonde guys.
No,
right?
I kept mixing up Keith and the piano guy for no good reason.
Oh, Keith and Alan?
Character design wise, yeah. There's no good reason for that, but for some reason, I could not keep them consistent as I was watching. I think,
is this have anything to do with your color blindness?
No,
because that's blonde and gray. That wouldn't have been like a big issue.
It just might be that the male character designs don't stand out nearly as much, and I gotta be honest.
Those are like the 2 that are kind of like really far apart too. One's like long
I more so recognize the male characters based on their personality and less so like their actual design.
So fun fact, first time through I watched the sub, second time through I watched the dub. And for the first 3 episodes, the dub is god awful. Like the whole point where they're children. The dub is just god awful.
I accidentally tuned into that because Sehkie was watching it. It was
yeah, it gets exponentially better when they're like in grown-up form. But they all have very distinctive voices, so it was actually really easy to keep track of them, even when I wasn't staring at the screen, which I actually had more issue telling apart their voices in the sub. But also, you know, male voices in like English voice actors are often quite distinct. Like you can get some very different voice
and
acting.
that might have been my problem for me. The voice actor.
Like I could actually pick up like the subtleties, but like
I could in the Japanese. It was just way easier in the English.
Yeah,
it always is.
Yeah, that's why I find same like whenever I'm actually talking like in real life as well. So
yeah. So you know, just a comment about the dub. It's not half bad, but don't look for any great things in the first 3 episodes.
Are there any other points of presentation we wanted to talk about before moving on to story?
Oh, the uniforms that she was trying before the sleepover. That was funny as hell.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the freaking eggplant costume.
Oh yeah, Sehkie is our resident clothing design whore. What did you think of the clothing design here?
I thought it was beautiful. You know what it had? It had a very, I don't know if anyone here has ever seen Teen Beach Movie.
No.
But it had a very Teen Beach Movie sleepover vibe, you know? This kind of like overdoing it because you don't actually know what's supposed to happen. You're
speaking
like,
to our audience.
Too hard.
You're speaking to our audience, Sehkie, because it's clear that none of us have seen it.
I'm sure none of our audience has seen it either. It's a decom from the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing good about it except for maybe one song.
All right. With us having gone off on a weird little tangent on clothing design, try harder, everyone. We'll see you next time with story.